as you got your eyes, got you trippy on them private jets, taking trips. Come back at 6, wake me and your child, and then won't lay today, make me wonder who.
You don't want to reinvest it, you don't want to source it, you don't want to make it move. So these things are important. Our final protection is just one of the most critical and often overlooked areas of business, legal protection and safeguarding our assets. And this will be Ms Ashelle Morgan. To my friends up there. So Ashelle Morgan is a lawyer and former independent speaker on the Council of St Vincent and the Grenadines. She is the principal of Morgan Law Inc., where her law practice focuses on property transactions, estate planning, and asset protection. She advises individuals and businesses on the legal structures that protect assets, property, and financial interests, helping clients to structure ownership, manage risk, and ensure that what they build is legally secure. In addition to her legal practice, she has served in parliamentary leadership, contributing to legislative debates and national policy discussion in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Her work increasingly focuses on financial literacy, asset protection, and helping people better understand how legal structures shape financial security and long-term wealth protection. She believes that building wealth is only half the cost of the equation. So I'm carrying and actually means that. But aside, today she will speak about legal frameworks women in business should understand to protect their finances, assets, and long-term security. And yeah, that pretty much sums her. She is a boss at nursing, by the way. She always admires. I love that because I say to her, you know, whatever you're going through, and I'll say it to you too, just show up looking fabulous. Like, your house could be on fire. Show up looking fabulous. I met a lady this afternoon that I haven't seen in quite some time. And still working. I'm going to cut it off and go over to them, right? So, but I'm just telling you how God works. The way God transformed this lady, she's not working where she used to work before, but she looks so, like, 10 years younger. And she looks so amazing. I didn't recognize her. That is a transformational power of God, and that's when we support each other as women. These things can happen. Don't forget to tell another sister how great she's doing and put her out there and support her business and don't beg for discounts. Alright, so you know, our first me off of our first listen to let's go, yeah. Woo! Right. But then somebody sees and they see your business. Right? So raise your hand if you ever bought something because you just felt like it. Yeah, so random is the feeling that people get when they experience you. So before we go on, we're going to do a short icebreaker, and it's called the lipstick brand exercise. So you're going to imagine your brand as a lipstick shade. You're going to see it in the something in there. Right? So what would the name of your lipstick be and the color of the shade? Think about this.
See, I already have a lipstick.
It could be fearless red, confident green. Think about this. I'm gonna have about 2 or 3 that to share. If you want to share, then you know.
Mine would be ruby red, but it would be a new color. Ruby red, but it's a new color.
A new color. Love that. Anybody else?
What's ruby red?
So I have a favorite lipstick. It's actually called Pass Me the Money. It's called. It's really, really good.
Pass me the money.
Pass me the money. It's red. It's really nice. It's matte also, Sasha. You all should try it. It's
Try to advertise your brand, eh?
Which is that shade of purple. Fashion never did no longer carry that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So
So you notice how every lipstick name describes a personality. That personality is exactly what branding is.
So what branding really means? Branding is the identity of your business. So when we talk about branding, the very first questions that we ask are, who are you? What do you stand for? And how do people feel when they come to you? Your branding identity shapes three things: your values, your personality, and your purpose. Together, these elements determine how people perceive your business. So if somebody described your business in three words, what would those words be? Think about that. So the first one we're gonna go into is, right? Your value represents your business and what you stand for. They guide you to operate how you treat customers and how the message of your brand is communicated. So for example, confidence, helping women feel beautiful and empowered; authenticity, celebrating natural beauty; luxury, delivering premium experiences; and inclusivity, catering to all skin tones and body types; wellness, promoting healthy skincare. When people connect with your values, they are more likely to support you and to trust your brand. The next one is your personality. So just like people, brands have personalities. Your brand personality is how your business behaves, speaks, and presents itself. So ask yourself, if my brand were a person, what kind of person would it be? So examples of brand personalities would be elegant, playful, bold, sophisticated, friendly, glamorous. Your personality influences your tone of voice, your social media captions, your photography style, your packaging, your products, and your overall aesthetic. So a luxury brand may speak in a calm and refined tone, and a fun beauty brand may use bright colors, emojis, and playful languages.
Oh,
The next one is your purpose. Your purpose is the reason your business exists beyond making money. It answers deeper questions. Like, why did you start this business? Your purpose may be to empower women, solving a problem in the market, celebrating culture, creating opportunity. So when I clearly communicate what it stands for, the customers feel the need to support the brand also means supporting their ideas, their causes, and their beliefs. In today's competitive market space, many businesses offer similar products and services. So two businesses may sell clothing, makeup, candles, etc. The difference between them lies their meaning and the way how they present themselves. Now, some examples would be empowerment. So, a brand that stands for empowerment focuses on encouraging people to believe in their strengths, abilities, and potential. A brand that focuses on self confidence would send off promotional messages like self love, acceptance, and confidence. A brand that focuses on culture will promote cultural identity, traditions, and heritage. Sustainability is a value that focuses on protecting the environment and using responsible resources. And a brand that focuses on community supports uplifting community. You may support local farmers, suppliers, create jobs within their community, and mentor young entrepreneurs. So when customers see businesses care about the well-being of its community, they often feel a stronger loyalty and pride towards that brand. Another important part of branding is understanding how your brand makes people feel. Branding is not just about visuals, marketing, or selling a product. Its core is emotion. So branding is emotional. Every time someone interacts with your brand, whether they see your logo, they visit your social media page, walk in your store, or purchase the product, they experience a feeling. Those feelings influence whether people remember your brand, trust your brand, recommend your brand, or return as a customer. Elements of branding is your voice. Your voice is how your brand communicates to people. It represents the tone, the style, the personality your business uses to speak to customers. So just like every person has a unique way of speaking, I may come to you and we speaking in a more professional manner. But when I talk to my friends, it would not be as professional, right? So every brand should have its own voice. Your voice should remain consistent across every interaction people have with your brand, right? So you don't want your brand to come off playful, and when people interact with it, you are serious, stern, and bored, right? It has to be consistent. So your brand voice matters because people understand the personality. As a brand is clear and consistent, people start to recognize your brand even before they see your logo. So for example, some brands are known for being motivational, while others are known for being playful and energetic. Your brand becomes part of your identity. Also reflects who you are as a person. So one of the most important rules in branding is authenticity. Your brand voice should feel natural and genuine. If it reflects your personality, your business values, and the type of experience you want your customers to have, then people will come towards your brand easily. But if your voice feels forced and unnatural, people will notice. When your brand reflects who you truly are, it becomes easier for you to build relationships with your customers, communicate clearly, and to stand out from your competitors. Authenticity builds trust. So if your brand always communicates in a warm and supportive tone, people remember what they see first. Before customers read your message, listen to your story, or even understand your product, they usually notice your visuals. So the way your brand looks creates the first impression. This means that your visual identity plays a major role in shaping how people perceive your business. Your visual identity should include several important elements, like your logo. Your logo is a main symbol or a mark that represents your business. You should have a strong logo, something that is simple, memorable, clear, and relevant to your business. So if I am selling chicken, my logo should not have a pop. Also, colors. Colors are extremely important in branding because they influence how people feel about your brand, right? So the color green. If you look at Subway's logo, they use the colors green and yellow. Do you know why? So green signifies for feeling more professional, premium, and memorable. So many customers even share beautiful packages on social media, and that is self-promoting your brand. Your social media design. Now, in today's world, social media is often where customers first encounter your brand. So this means your social media page should reflect your visual identity, clear and consistent. So this includes color themes, similar fonts, recognizable design layouts, and aesthetically pleasing photos. Right? So if you're taking a photo of your product, check your background. What is it? When a brand tries to speak to everyone, the message becomes too broad and too unclear, and it ends up connecting deeply with no one. So the clearer your audience is, the stronger and more authentic your brands will be. The second one is inconsistency. inconsistent with posting. You're going to post every 2 months. You have a pink logo, and next week you have a green one. Your posting style is different. You are posting your natural products with greenery. Now we by the beach. And consistency builds recognition, right? Your third one is inner praise for sure. So sometimes we feel uncomfortable putting ourselves in the spotlight. And we may just prefer to post pictures of our product without showing ourselves. But in modern day, especially with social media, we want to build a connection around our brand. And people want to connect with you and your products, right? So your audience wants to see your face, your personality, and hear about your story. In conclusion, your brand is not about being perfect. So when women build strong brands, we do more than create businesses. We create opportunities, economic independence, recognition, representation, and inspire the next generation. Your business is not just your business. It is your voice. It is your presence. It is how you impact people. You have to show up boldly because the world needs to see what you are doing. Thank you guys so much for having me. I think international women. Any questions? It's still pronouncing pretty microphone. Oh, it's but I would like everyone to do an icebreaker. Funika. Any information. So all the people want to go down the audience. We are going to do something called fitnbless, right? We love fitnbless like in our salad. It's a nice vegetable. We aspirate it some way, as Ms Crick said. So while that, I went to spell the word somewhere with your waist. Right? You need to go in for which leverage, but so you need back.
Pumpkin circle, no? The spreads always.
Yeah. I know the thing. Someone else. We have said the best thing we can do and do is that so we don't even know how to do it. Okay? Yeah, ready? Ready? Take from me 14. Restore. Alright, let's go. See. We want to one, two, three.
See
You.
you. See
You.
you.
I'm not. What I am a woman who has 24 years in the cooperative sector. And yeah, it's that long. So when everybody was like, no, 21-year-old daughter, in it long time, you just so much long time. Yeah, it's a beautiful. So, so I want you to understand that two things that I am only speaking from cooperative sector part of finances. So there are other lending institutions and their prerequisites may differ. All right, so understand that. And there are things that maybe I did not or may not present that you are free to ask. And if I do not know, I will tell you. And if I do know, of course, I would explain it to you. So we are here to learn. If you have a question at the end, you can let me know. But my presentation is based on my experience. I was a loan officer for 8 years at the credit union. I've been all over the credit union. And it's Yeku, as persons may know. I love my job. I love my credit union. Show me hands of all Yeku members in the house. Oh, wow. I love that too. All right. I just want to say that the previous presenter, Ms Crick, I would love to be. Oh, she's a beautiful ambassador, a brand ambassador. I was wondering who does her nails. I was wondering who does her hair. I was wondering who does her outfit. Everything she spoke about in terms of branded, she encapsulated in how she did this afternoon. And I remember when Nico was introducing Miss Morgan, she said, she's a fabulous dresser. I saw this young lady in front and she was doing this. And last year, I didn't know what this meant. So I know what that means. Right? Okay. So that picture you see on the front of the slide has nothing to do with financing. It is a picture of the River 14 Recreational Park in South Rivers, and it would be remiss of me if I didn't tell you, when you have stress, when you want to go out with your family, there is where you need to go. So just take a 5 seconds to look at it. For those of you who haven't gone, you can make your bookings at airport. All right. So in terms of business planning, these are some of the things that we've seen all the time. We know about vision, and over the years, I've seen different businesses. When I was a lending officer, I've seen people come up with ideas because they saw another person doing it. That does not mean that you can actually do it. You can, some of you can, some of you can improve on it, but just don't do something because you saw someone else do it. All right? So this is where market analysis comes in. You have to collect data. No matter how small your business is or how big it is, if you can't make decisions without data, you have to know who your clientele is and all of that. So you have to do your market analysis. You have to have strategies as well, and you have to have a value proposition. And Ms. Crick spoke about that in there. Now, your value proposition is why somebody will come to your business instead of another. All right, she gave the examples of the makeup artist. I am the natural one because I know nothing about makeup. My daughter tries to teach me. It has setting powder, it has finishing powder, it has, I don't know, all I know is that it has eyeliner. Right? But it's a process, right? So you have to have your value proposition. What makes people come to you rather than the other person, right? And obviously you have to have projections where you want your business to be. A lending officer or somebody, a loan officer, is going to ask, or they're not everything, but they would ask these different things, especially for your projections. And you have to be realistic with your projections. You can't go from $0 to $500,000 in 2 months. I don't know what kind of business that would be. We are all trying to make it. But I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's highly unlikely. So I'm giving you some general guidelines for financing business loans, right? And as I said before when I began, I'm always speaking in the context of vehicle, all right? So only members of vehicle can qualify for loans. I'm so sorry, I cannot offer you any free money this afternoon. Normal underwriting procedures of the credit union will apply. And I just spoke to you about the small business union. Now, this is the part where a lot of people have a headache. You have a small business, you're doing this on your own. How are you going to get security? Now, credit unions were developed for persons who are middle income and lower income strata of the society. That's what credit unions was, the common bond. So getting started as government employees, and all these years later, people still calling up Methodist General because we wanted to open the bonds, not just government workers. We wanted everybody to be a part of the credit union. And when we did that, we experienced exponential growth. So in 2003, that's when we decided to change the G to general. Now, in my years as a lending officer, as I said, I crossed paths with a lot of small business persons. Some of them have gone on to do tremendous things. I won't call their names, but anytime I see them, I'm so proud of them. So there was one, a young lady, a nail tech, and that's before a lot of. I think the only person I had heard doing nails was Akka, my good friend Akka. And then she came to me and she wanted a loan to start her business. And she explained everything to me. And I was like, people want to actually patronize your business, like the nails are a thing? She's like, absolutely. She said there's a market for it. She had done all her research. But what she came to borrow for was an airbrush machine, right? And that to me, that was like, okay, I've never heard of it before. She's like, trust me, this will change the game. After that, she came and she started to buy. She experimented with the thing called gel, right? And I'm like, what is that? And then she's like, trust me, Danny. Because she kept coming back to me because I guess because she was comfortable, she kept coming back to me as a then even though I had other people, she would wait for hours and come back to me. She said, Danny, I'm going to move forward and I'm going to do something called gel. I'm like, what is that? She said, that is when you push your hand, you can put your hand under UV light, and then just as you're finished, you can push your hand in your pocket and it will not smudge. And I was like, ooh, it was to see her growth. It was so fascinating because she was doing her research all the time. She was never stagnant. And so when she came for financing options, the thing about it is that she was always making sure that she paid her loan first, right? So even though she didn't have like 100 people in her clientele or anything like that, but she made sure that she kept proper records and she paid her loan first. And any amount that she could have paid extra, so her account was always up to the time. So I meandered there to come back to say that her very first loan, her dad actually had to sign for her because she didn't understand before. She was just a member and she would pay periodically. And because it's a credit union, she would be like, okay, Danny, I am only paying this for debt benefit. And a lot of people are like that. Some of you, your parents may have joined the credit union and all you know is I'm a member of debt. You have no idea what person is so much more. And I would bring right now to ask you and encourage you to also make an opportunity to become a volunteer because the credit union runs on its members. So the decisions that are made from you as members. So a lot of people be like, I don't understand how does get home? How is get home? How does it function? Functions with volunteers, just like you and I, all the staff are members and members contribute to its democracy. So her father signed the loan the first time she came because she did not have enough in her account. But I was able to make sure to use what she had and what she presented to make a case for that first loan that she had. And she made sure she didn't disappoint her father. She paid off that loan and kept reinvesting in her business. So co-maker, some people would frown at it and be like, people don't want to sign for money. It can be true. But another thing that I've realized over the years, and it's strange, strangers co-sign loans rather than family. It has baffled me for many, many years. People will go to a complete stranger. And once the person knows your character and knows the person who you are, they voluntarily come and say, oh no, she grew up with me or I saw her go to school. I know her family and I will sign her. And sometimes you have siblings come and they would be like, you sign me. And I'm like, okay, because as a loans officer, you have to keep that poker face and you have to be like, well, it's your decision after you sign, and you have to now tell the member, well, I'm sorry, your brother or your sister, your mom, somebody can't sign for you. And that used to break my heart, but it's their choice. And you can't tell them, well, you're going to keep me here and say, you want on talk. You can't do that. You have to maintain professionalism. But I have noticed that. So sometimes when people feel this fun and they're like, I can't get anyone to side with me. Sometimes strangers sign for you, all right? So we have bills of sale as well. If some people have a vehicle, depending on how much you're looking for, we can take that as security. You have to have it valued, of course. A lot of people look at the land title, but you can do that as well. I've seen persons. You have to be able to track your transactions. And as I said, before the apps, the young lady was able to do that. But there are so many apps out there now, free apps that you can use to track your transaction. This is a little P for some lending officers, but I know I have seen persons, they when they don't get enough financial counseling, this is what happens. They take loans at multiple places and then you drown. You drown in loan repayments and sometimes you even become delinquent. And that is something, well, with credit unions, we always, people, when they can't service their loan, the first thing that they do is stop coming around. Don't do that. Don't do that. I know there's this trepidation, there's this apprehension. Oh my God, continue. No. The first thing you should do is come and talk to us and let us understand what is happening to you so that we can either lower your payments or give you some flexible options. But when you stay away, the companies are not saying, oh, I'm sorry, Sharon just got in here. You're not dealing with it. She's not dealing with it. She's not paying her loan, but the interest is there. Calculating all the time. And by the time you summon the courage to come, then our recovery officers now have to try to bend over backwards to try and get some sort of forgiveness on some of the interest and all of that. I see one of my co-workers who's a recovery officer in the room. So see, she's not in as well. But you have to understand the loan that you're borrowing. So try not to borrow too many loans at one time. Carnival is coming up soon. And there are some nice loan offerings that come. I always tell people, there are some nice loan offerings all over. Because obviously, I heard Rajin Soka, you hear Oxygen. My daughter was telling me, oh, mommy, Oxygen almost sold out. I say, how do you know that? But she's always on social media. She's never told me that she wanted to play mass, at least not yet, knock on wood. But she told me that, and how much sections in what's the other one, Mirage, the sellouts, and she giving me different and I said to myself, what hoping for this thing, but yeah, but they do. And yet the offers can't go along so you have to be we know. And it seems that these things are really, really good. And some people, I didn't even know this was a thing. Last year, I spoke to a young lady who won a ticket for one of the shows. I can't remember what the show, I think it's Chow it was. And she came to my office and she had a bunch of bands. So I asked her, what? She said, no, that is a thing. Yeah, I've been to all these things, man. She said, I didn't even know that's a thing to show that you've been to all of it, so you have them lined up on your race. Yeah, I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire, I should say. I'm not into that. But understanding the loan, not just jumping at a loan, understanding the loan is important. This is good financial counseling. You have to understand the interest rate. Some people, interest rate, 36%, yeah? Interest rates. No, you have to always be wary of interest rates. So you have to, sometimes if you notice, a lot of persons will advertise, but they will never say what the interest rate is. You have to be mindful of that, especially when you have your small business, right? So the repayment period as well, you don't want a period that is too long because obviously turning one every day. So there are some strategies for repaying your loans. In the analysis of financial obligations, you have to evaluate your capacity to exceed the minimum payment one. So if you can at least put $50, $100 more on your payment, that will assist you in terms of repaying loans. you have to conduct a review of your financial situation. So you have to allocate funds to your debt obligation. Don't get the loan. Start spreading joy, and then you're like everyone like, wait, I forget I have a loan. No, you have to line list out your obligation, right? So because it helps in fostering greater financial stability, all right, and a better credit standing. What you would imagine is that credit unions, we don't just want to give persons loan, we want them to have a savings culture, and we are trying to move from even a savings culture to one where we want to create wealth for all members. It's not just to save, but you want to create wealth. So when you have a small business, it's not just to say you have a small business, you want to create that wealth. Obviously, we wanted to go on to generational wealth. Because I always tell my daughter, IRS, and you need proof of income. And this is another thing that you need. You need wealth. A lot of people have businesses, but they are working. But some people, their business is all they have. But another thing is that some of them have not formalized their business. So you have to register your business. It don't make any sense. You have a business and you don't register. So I have a brother, and my younger brother, this is Bodhi. I already told him happy birthday. So my younger brother, he has a small business, an electrical business, right? And I remember he didn't register his business. And the first name he had, somebody, he did logos and everything. But then somebody saw it and liked it, and somebody registered that name. Yeah, right. But I wasn't sorry with him because he should have come to me. I would have told him what to do. So and he was so distressed. He was so upset. But he has another name now. But that's just goes to say that sometimes people copycat. They're like, I like that. I like take that name. I like, So if you don't formalize it, when you go down to SQL, then they're gonna say, no, that name is already taken. But if you don't register, just go ahead. And they're gonna be sometimes you invest so much and then the name is gone, and then you're like you have to start, you have a nice logo as Miss Crick said, and then when you look, somebody else has your name walking around with it. So don't do that. Register your business. Alright? Go for it. And then you just buy it. Avoid it. Alright? But you have to be able to adapt to changes as well, and you have to, most importantly, be able to borrow wisely. Don't just go borrowing all over the place because you have to try to consolidate what you have already. Of course, I would get to try and tell you stuff here, but that is the important thing.
Be here tonight with all of you lovely ladies, lovely and dare I say progressive, ambitious ladies, because you have taken the time out of your schedule to come to a forum such as this. So I'm not going to do an icebreaker, but please give yourselves a round of applause for making this investment in your development and in your future. As I look around the room, I see several women who have small businesses that I am familiar with, different enterprises, and many of you are very well accomplished in your businesses, but structurally vulnerable. That's the ugly side of business that a lot of women don't appreciate and don't realize. You don't even know how exposed you are. You're building your business, you're building your career, you're building your families. But sometimes you are not the architects of the structures that control the value that you are creating. And that matters. It's very important. Because as successful as you are, as successful as your business is, you don't want to leave it fragile and vulnerable and exposed. As a lawyer, I often meet persons when they are at the most difficult times in their lives.
Right.
So somebody has just died, a partnership has collapsed, the business has collapsed, there's a business dispute. Or, very common, a relationship ends and persons are trying to pick up the pieces. And that's the commonality with all of those examples that I've given. That's the commonality. Persons trying to pick up the pieces. So tonight, I'm hoping to give you some guidance so that you are not left at the end of the road, at the end of your struggle, trying to pick up the pieces, but instead being proactive and architecting a structure for your business that protects you and protects your asset. Accomplish in your business, but you are structurally vulnerable. Now, I have coined a framework for understanding all of this, and I'm calling it structural intelligence. And that's just a fancy way to say you are understanding the legal and financial structures that determines who holds power over the assets that you create in your life and in your business. Because the uncomfortable truth is that a lot of you create value in your businesses. A lot of high-performing women create a lot of value to your business, to your careers, etc., but they don't have control. And that is where the structural vulnerability begins, because it's not that you lack the ability, you are not taught exactly how power works. Now, let me just share an example. In my practice, a lot of women come to me, as I said. Many of them are seeking to pick up the pieces after things have gone wrong. For some reason, persons only seem to want to find a lawyer after things have gone to hell, as opposed to being proactive, coming to your lawyer and seeking legal advice on how to structure your business, how to structure your assets, etc. So this lady, let's call her Lola. So Lola came to me at the end of a long-term relationship. So she and this man had been together for several years. You know, they had children together. They had built a business together. She had contributed significantly in that business. She had contributed to the household, of course, because a lot of women, you have many roles. So you would go to work and do your 9 to 5, and then when you come home, job number 2 begins, which is the housekeeping, the child rearing, etc., etc. And sometimes that is value. Of course, it's value that you're creating, but that value is not necessarily financially rewarded. So sometimes people tend to undervalue that. So she had supported her household. And from her perspective, she had been the backbone for this man. She had helped him to build his business up and everything. And she sat in my office and she started describing everything that she had invested into, her time, her energy, resources, her own money she had put into this business. And then it was time for me to do the lawyer thing, to examine what is this lady's rights, what are her rights. So I started, examining, going through my little checklist. So the house that was bought from the business proceeds, whose name is on the title? Does anybody want to guess?
The man.
His name alone.
Yep.
The
You do that.
business is registered at SIBO. Who are the directors? You think Lola was a director?
We.
There's a movie. I don't want to reveal too much of my age, but there's a movie called Waiting to Exhale. How many of you have ever seen it? Right? And you remember when that lady burnt down that car? I'm not encouraging any of you to commit arson But
It will come to you.
but I don't understand Bernard's feelings. So feelings were very valid because after you spend your time, your resources, and your energy, and you invest it, and you have nothing to show how power is structured, right? So you need to know you have a business or a home or whatever. Who owns this asset? Is your name on the title? Because you might think that you're living in this house, but so they have a nice little helper to contribute half of your salary or whatever to the mortgage. And I've seen instances where there are women, the man may have acquired the piece of the parcel of land prior to coming to the relationship. And his name is on the title. You get married or whatever, and now you're going to the bank, pulling your assets, contributing to a mortgage, assuming a risk, but your name is not on the deed. Right? And that's problematic, as you can imagine, for several reasons. Because after you have contributed to a business and funds from that business have been used to secure your lifestyle, to purchase, to reinvest into the business, to purchase a home, other assets, but you have no real ownership of anything. So, based on the power triangle, you need to know who owns the assets. And chances are the person who owns the asset is the person in control. You are the one who has the legal authority to make the decisions concerning that asset is yours. Your name is on it. Right? So you can't be assuming risk with nothing to show for it. It's blind spots that I have seen, love.
Aww.
Believe it or not, that's one of the biggest blind spots for women in business, falling in love. Right? Because a lot of you might confuse love with legal protection. You enter into your relationship with a very informal structure, thinking, oh, I'm in love or we are in love, but not seeing down the road, you're confusing love with legal protection. Right? The law does not recognize intentions. When you go to court, the judge cannot jump in your mind and read your mind and try to figure out what you guys intended, what were your intentions for this asset, for this property, for this business. It has to be concrete and it has to be documented. Daniel spoke about documentation, which is very important when you went to a financial institution. But documentation is also important, even if you are a housewife in a relationship. You need to be able to be documenting the contributions that you are making. You're having a business, you're in a business, you document your records. Income that's coming in, contributions that you are making. Because the courts can help you, the court may be able to help you, but you need to have a paper trail. You know, some women come and they said, well, I contributed this, I helped to build this. And I ask, so you have the receipts? Like literally, do you have the receipts? No, you don't have the receipts. And in the court system, in our legal system, he who alleges must prove, right? Anybody could allege anything, but it's what you could prove. Your receipts and your documentation provides proof
Allegedly.
to secure your legal future. Another blind spot is contributing, right? You're creating value without understanding ownership. So you might think, okay, well, I'm his wife. What he has, it's mine. But it doesn't exactly work like that, right? It doesn't exactly work like that. Yes, as a wife, you are entitled to certain protections by your very status of being a wife, but you have legal hoops and hurdles to jump through to even get there. So, even though you may have built it together, it's very important for you to assess who owns the assets. So this might be a very uncomfortable conversation to go home and have with your husband. All of a sudden you're asking him, whose name on the bean?
Well, you're supposed to know beforehand.
You might have a nice, loving, generous gentleman provider of a husband, or you may have something else. But it's very important for you to know. It's very important for you to know so that it protects you. Because ownership determines who benefits. I beg of you, please. Daddy spoke earlier about the issue of co-signing. And I would want to hazard a guess as to why family members are most hesitant to co-sign loans, because there's a little saying, see me? Exactly. See me and come live with me is two different things, right? So you may love somebody, or it may be a good friend or family member, and you're going, it could be detrimental to you. Women who are being taken care of 100% are in a precarious position, because it's never good to have your financial independence compromised by depending on a man. And I would never encourage any ambitious woman out here to depend solely on a man. I mean, it's nice to have gifts and financing, but you cannot put your future solely in somebody else's hands. Right? So, when you're getting into a marriage, finances are a very important conversation to tackle. In fact, finances and financial matters tend to be one of the more leading causes of divorce. Believe it or not.
Yep.
Right? Because you're in love and you're happy, but things get real. You have bills to pay, you have children to feed, and things get very, very real. Now, there's a structural framework for determining all of this. After I have, I've been a lawyer for 10 years, and I've looked at a lot of disputes, right? And I've realized something, that in almost every conflict, four things determine who hold the power in that situation, whether your business relationship or your interpersonal relationships, right? So there are four things that you need to consider: separation, ownership, protection, and having an exit strategy. And when you incorporate a company, you give your business its own personality. So, for example, if you get sued and you don't have a company incorporated, they could start coming after your business proceeds. But if you incorporate a business, your business is separate from you. So, say for example, you have a business and there's an accident on the job and you become liable. You are not personally liable. Your business assumes that risk and that responsibility, because your business, by virtue of incorporating a company, is a separate thing from you. If you don't incorporate a business, you may have a business partner. Two of you doing business together. You have a business account. Funds are going into that business account. That person incurs debt. The creditors now come, sues that person, and comes looking for their money. Where you think they're going to get it from? Your business account. Right? So these are protections that you need to consider. Separate personal risk from business risk. It's always best to incorporate a company. Register a company. Registration is good, but incorporation is even better. Now, we spoke about ownership and the importance of knowing who owns the assets. So whether it is the inventory in the business, it might be equipment, it's very important to have records and documented records of who has contributed what. Because I like to say, begin with the end in mind. Yes, you and this person are entering into a business relationship and things are good to begin, but the funds that you have earned in your business, they don't belong to you, they belong to the business. And it's very important to have a clear demarcation for several reasons. Right? Remember I spoke about the debts of the company? Right? You need to have a clear demarcation. Especially if you're going into business with somebody else.
True.
You need to know clearly how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. How much money is your money personally? It's always recommended to pay yourself. And it's difficult, and I could attest to that because I am a sole practitioner in my law practice. And when you are self-employed, your income is not consistent. It fluctuates. So you might have one good month where you're balling, as these millennials and then like to say you're balling. And then you might have a very, dry month when you're balling. So I understand how difficult it could be, but it's very important that you demarcate your company's funds from your funds. Determine how much it costs to run your business. A lot of people don't know how much it costs to run the business. Right? So you know you're factoring in your salary and your compensation as a business expense. Right? Because you're creating value, and a lot of women suffer from burnout, especially persons who have small businesses, because you're not adequately accounting for the value relating to marriage. So there are persons who have agreements or contracts drawn up in anticipation of marriage. Generally, it's like high net worth individuals. For example, a very wealthy man or woman, right? Because they're very wealthy women with businesses and assets to protect. So they will have an agreement. You're gonna marry somebody. Of course, marriage gives you certain rights to your partner or your spouse's assets. So the prenuptial agreement is simply an agreement saying how those assets are to be distributed. So say for example, the man has several houses. You marry him and you're thinking, okay, jackpot. His money is my money, right? The prenuptial agreement simply dictates, for example, what happens if the relationship is to terminate. So some of them have clauses for things like cheating. So if you cheat on me, I get those 2 houses and a certain amount of money, right? The very popular case is Tiger Woods. Do you remember Tiger Woods, the golfer? So Tiger Woods had a prenuptial agreement with his wife and he cheated with multiple women, right? And I'm sure that his wife was sad because nobody wants the relationship to end in that kind of a devastated manner. But trust me, she was crying in a Rolls Royce, in a lap of luxury somewhere, because she had prepared herself and addressed these things, right? So prenuptial agreements A lot of people don't do them, but I mean, it could be arranged, right? There are also post-nuptial agreements. You might not have gone in with your head fully on, and you decide, wait a minute, I am very exposed, I never considered any of these things. You could have a post-nuptial agreement, right? So in the event that you divorce, you know how you are going to be taken care of, for want of a better word.
Long as you got your eyes, got your drippy on them private jets, taking trips, come back.